Good morning, everyone. Welcome today. It is Wednesday morning, October 20th. And the weather is quite different today than yesterday. Janisa, good morning. Yesterday it was in the 30s. You could see my breath and had extra layers on. This morning it's 60 degrees. Strange thing. Sally Crocker, good morning to you. Barbara Richardson, welcome. Wendy Chadwick, thanks for joining us all the way down from Shaver Lake. Dana Kreshock, good morning to you. Welcome everyone. Carmen Lego, good morning. And a quick shout out to everyone who watches this later in the day. Haven't recognized you for a while, but I recognize a lot of people watch after the live broadcast, and grateful for that. Karen Faust, good morning. Jan Akins, I saw your name go by. Good morning. Stephen Andrea Hauser, welcome this morning. So thank you everyone for your faithfulness, tuning in, watching this. It keeps me motivated to keep doing it. I really benefit from this personally, just the discipline of the routine and so on. Sometimes, you feel like, I wish I didn't have to do this, but most of the time it's a really good routine for me, and I thrive on routine. I love things that are predictable and so on. I get in my sweet spot so much of the time. I was in Psalm 20 this morning, but before I read that, good morning, Marcy and Tim. If you are also watching, glad you guys got home safe. We're continuing to pray for Tim and his recovery and the pneumonia symptoms and so on. Barbara Whitney, good morning to you. So, and it's quite a bit darker this morning than yesterday, but the sun will come up and it might get lighter by the end of our 15 or so minutes that we're together. But Psalm 20 this morning really spoke to my heart because I woke up, struggling with some of the limitations of my temperament, and that I've been struggling with for some days. But it's not even really the some days I've been struggling with it. It's really all my life that these limitations have been present in me, and I don't mean to always describe them as, they are limitations, but I don't mean to describe them totally as bad. I'm learning to accept them as a part of how God made me, how God wired me, and that was a part of this morning, just moving in acceptance of some of my limitations while allowing God to speak to my heart in ways that compensate for those limitations. I'm just learning to trust in Him, that He is going out to battle with me, and so on. Let me give you just examples of what I'm talking about. So I am, as you know, in a leadership position at Grace. I'm the lead pastor, and so I have a lot of responsibilities for our congregation, to our congregation, for organizational leadership, for finances. Ultimately, if any problems are arising in any category, ultimately they find their way to me. I'm the one that helps resolve those things, and I am a key voice in setting a pace or setting a atmosphere for the culture of Grace. I do this with people, right? We're all doing this together, but I keenly am aware of my own role in all of this. And oftentimes, being in that kind of a role, you are more aware. I'm aware of my strengths and what I bring to the table, and I'm grateful for those things. But also, you become aware of your limitations. And some of those limitations you didn't really realize were limitations. So, for example, I'm introverted in my temperament, and that's not news to anybody. But sometimes that can feel like a liability to leadership, and you're out making multiple contacts. You're in social arenas, and you're talking to lots of people, and you're connecting with people, and so on. So that not that I dislike that, but it is draining. So I have limited resources to do those things, which are a really important part of my job and important part of my heart. But it feels like a limit sometimes. I am what might be called a high reactive temperament. What that means is sounds, and I'm in tune to sounds, movement, and even someone's emotions to an amplified degree. So even this is studies show that this happens in babies. You're born with this. This is a part of your hardwiring, part of your temperament. So like loud sounds are as a child were just incredibly frightening and disruptive to me. My dad sometimes on the 4th of July would light off firecrackers, and that would just drive me bananas. I had to go inside. I couldn't be outside. I would be in tears. The anticipation of this loud sound, of just watching this little tiny thing burn, the wick burn, the fuse, and I'm like, when is that going to go off? And all of a sudden, boom, and I would just, I'd have to run inside. And so, but even to this day, if I'm in a loud, chaotic environment, it really disrupts me. It puts me out of, I can't think very well. I have trouble staying in conversation with people. Even in my office, I'm often closing my door if I'm hearing conversation outside of my office, or someone just walks by my door. They're not wanting to talk to me, but they just walk by. That movement, it inhibits me. So I hate having to close my door because I feel so isolated, but I have to have very quiet environments to really concentrate, to think and to reflect, and I think this is why I often go out to nature. The open expanse, the peacefulness of that environment. I really can think clearly. I really find peace in those environments. But that part of my temperament, it speaks to in social, those two things, introversion and being high reactive, speak to my connection with other people in a particular way. And so, I'll bring a third element into this. That's just something I've experienced since I was a little kid. And that is, it feels like my chief way of socializing is to become invisible. And what I mean by that is, I don't want my presence, my words, my choices, my actions to disrupt anybody else and their flow. I feel like I don't want to irritate people. I don't want to have them to have to, if I'm standing in somebody's way in a walkway, also they have to move around me. How, insensitive is that? I mean, that's kind of how my temperament is. I just want to be invisible so that, that's how I drive, I don't want to be in anybody's way, and in a room, I want everybody to have a good time. I'm often seeking out people who I feel like have gravitated to the periphery of the room, and I want them to be included. So if I can help them to do that, I'll draw them back in, or I will engage them. I have to be. It is in my temperament. I have to be anybody knows at a family gathering, I have to be the last one to eat. Not that I have to be, but it's my preference. I don't want to feel like I'm putting myself in front of someone else who is trying to get food. It's stupid, right? In some ways, but it's just the way I'm wired, and it's where I find peace if I'm not disrupting anybody else. Now that makes me a really good friend, right? Easygoing, go along to get along. Whatever you guys want to do, I'm good with, and no drama in friendships, I'm just, hey, no problem, good times, I'm the good friend. But when you put my temperament, introverted, high reactive, and conflict avoidant, that's how I was describing that, of not being disruptive to anybody else, and the loud sounds and chaotic environment, that's conflictive for me. I'm making peace. I want peace in my environments and other people, how I work with other people, and be inclusive and stuff. Nobody gets left out. All those things. Those are really good. And how I've learned to navigate that as a kid doesn't always translate to being a good leader, because you have to engage in conflict. You have to be able to make decisions and move and respond in sometimes chaotic environments, or when there's problems and so on, that you have to be helpful in resolving those issues and so on. So some of those things that I've learned as survival mechanisms as a kid don't serve me really well as an adult or a leader, a position in leadership. And that idea is conflicting to me. It's like, well, why am I a leader? God, why did you put me in this spot? If I have these known limitations that are kind of hardwired in me, why on earth are you putting me in this space? And I've actually resisted it in years past. Like, I don't want to advance. I'm okay being where I'm at. I don't want to get more responsibility. But God continued to lead me and push me into those. I was just trying to walk in obedience and so on. So what am I left to do? What I'm left to do is conclude that these are parts of my personality, first of all, that God is using. He knows, he's well aware of these things, and he has called me. So I have to come to peace with that he's okay with all this stuff. And I have to understand that there's a part of me that needs to grow in maturity. So the survival techniques I learned as a kid that made me a great friend, and just good to be around, everybody liked having me a part of their friend group, may not serve me well in leadership. So I have to develop new coping mechanisms and self-soothing ways of overcoming conflict so I can make good decisions. I have to be principally driven. I have to develop my character in more robust ways than maybe someone who wasn't in a leadership position with my same temperament would have to do. So I have to do a lot of extra work. And God knows this, and so he's equipped me. He's given me people in my life and books to read and time to develop, and even hard, difficult, painful losses to help to develop this necessary character. And to this day, I'm learning constantly that I need to develop my character in these areas to compensate for some of my limitations. But the bottom line is, and why Psalm 20 spoke to me so much, because I was struggling with this in my journaling this morning, my leadership position, and continually confronted once again with some of these parts of my personality that I feel like are limiting. And it's like, okay, how can I be accepting yet move forward into what I know God has called me to do? God led me to Psalm 20. Today being October 20th, I just started with Psalm 20 as a part of our normal reading. But yet God knows these things. He knows I would be having these feelings today. I love this part of it. And so here's Psalm 20, and it's a Psalm of David. He's the king. He's going out to the battlefield, and the whole psalm is a prayer that his character, his life, God's calling in his life as king, is what he's drawing upon to have the courage to go out on the battlefield, and that God will be with him every step of the way. So let me read through the psalm. It's not very long. It's only 9 verses. So think along these terms. Here's my turmoil this morning. I'm journaling about this thing. I pick up Psalm 20 and basically just saying, God is with you. The favor of God is with you. And it's through a prayer form. May it be with you. And we're trusting that it is, right? So here's the psalm. May the Lord answer you in the day of trouble. May the name of the God of Jacob protect you. May he send you help from the sanctuary and give you support from Zion. May he remember all your offerings and regard with favor your burnt sacrifices. All of our prayers to God, all our ways of seeking God. May he honor those and give favor to those. May he grant you your heart's desire and fulfill all your plans. May we shout for joy over your salvation, and in the name of our God set up our banners. May the Lord fulfill all your petitions. I love this language. It's like God is going with you. May you have victory. May you have deliverance. May God deliver you, right? Now I know that the Lord saves his anointed. He will answer him from his holy heaven with the saving might of his right hand. Some trust in chariots, some in horses, but we trust in the name of the Lord our God. They will collapse and fall, those enemies, right? But we will rise and stand upright. O Lord, save the king. May he answer us when we call. I love these types of passages. Though I don't relate totally to David as a king, I do have a sphere of influence and responsibility as a leader. And I need to be reminded that as I go forward, with the responsibilities that God has given me to lead well, I'm so aware of my own limitations, and I have to continue to lean upon God to be my strength, to develop the necessary character to lead well, to be well aware of my own motives, some of which are not pure, right? I mean, very few times my motives are actually pure. I think they're pure, but as I become more self-aware, oftentimes I find that my own motives are really motivated out of a wound, or motivated by fear more than a pure motive for good, and so on. Sometimes they're a motive of self-preservation, and God makes me aware of that by His Spirit. I'm so grateful for that. But the point is, God goes out with you to do exactly what He has called you to do today. He has equipped you with His strength, with His wisdom, with His revelation of the necessary things that we need to be successful on the battlefield. And He has wired us to be who we are. We love to talk about our strengths, but it's hard to talk about our weaknesses or our limitations, or even be aware of them. Sometimes we're very unaware of our limits. We just get frustrated. We don't know why, all those things. And it's so good to embrace all of this and walk with God out into the arenas of life that God has called us to, as a parent, as a boss, as an employee, as an entrepreneur, as a health worker, as someone who's caring for an aging parent, a husband, a wife, whatever the spheres that God has called us into. He's wired us, He's equipped us both with strengths and limitations, and He is going with us. And we need to trust Him and know that He is thinking favorably of us. He wants us to succeed, and He's given us everything we need to do that. So that was my thought for today, and I hope that it is an encouragement to you along the way as well. Hopefully we get some rain today. It seems warm enough. There's clouds in the sky. Maybe God will bless us with that. We'll see. And either way, we'll see you tomorrow morning, Thursday morning, for our final devotion of this week. God bless you today.